Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition. It's a Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Our thoughts with everybody down south. Doesn't look like it's going to be too bad in Gainesville, thank goodness. Talked with our good friend Joe from Peachland Dental this morning, and Joe's in the Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda area, and he's going to ride this one out. He's got a new house away from the coast, so the storm surge should not bother him. But it's supposed to withhold he told me it's supposed to withhold a category 5. So he says we're going to find out. So hunker down, Joe, hunker down. We got JC on the Titan MR hotline. We'll have Bob Kesling, the voice of the Tennessee Vols, in the second portion of the program. It's football time in Tennessee. Who used to say that, John? JC, do you know?
I do love that. Yeah. And, you know, when they go into the end zone, he counts down the yardage from 5 down to 1, and then he says, touchdown, Tennessee, or Big Orange, or something like that. I mean, it is a college football world up there, and they have started winning now, and Danny White, I think, is primarily responsible for that. But they had some lean years, and they really hate two teams in this conference more than anybody else. One of them is going to be there Saturday, and the other one's going to be there the week after. And so this is a huge game for them, but they're coming off a loss, and maybe they showed some things that Florida can exploit in this game. But what I really am concerned about is how they're going to try to run the ball down Florida's throat, and that's what I hope the Gators are ready for, QB.
Yeah, we'll see. I know a lot of people are excited after the win against UCF, and you know, a win's a win. You know, you play the game to win, and we did a good job doing that.
Yeah.
But we're facing a different animal.
Yeah.
We're facing a different animal Saturday night up there.
Oh yeah.
Couple of YouTubes here. Barone on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, QB, in your playing days, it mattered more what teams won by for the rankings. Do you recall players being aware of the point spread and how covering it may affect a team's ranking? I don't know about that. I do know that Coach Spurrier would tell us at the beginning of the week, my good buddy Danny Sheridan says we're 21 points better than so-and-so. We'll see if he's right or wrong. So,
Yeah,
we did know. So, Michael says, Shane is a QB yourself and now as a commentator, Gator football. What do your eyes tell you about Lagway? Should Napier be playing him more? Does he give us a better chance to win at this point? No, he does not give us a better chance to win. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. Speaking of that, a lot of people text me wanting me to know about the seam route he threw. And somebody on the Twitter feed sent me the breakdown of one of those podcasts. Look, it was a great throw, but I will tell you what Steve Spurrier would have told him, and this is what I would tell him as a coach. He threw the ball late. When you throw seam routes, especially that play is called sluggo seam, you got 7-man protection. You got a slant and go onto the single receiver. If it's taken away, you come back to your seam to your hitch on the outside. Seams have to be thrown. A good passing team, seams are thrown at 18 to 22 yards, completed. If it's completed any farther, you got a chance of an interception or getting your damn receiver clobbered. Well, DK took a shot there. But if DJ would have thrown that ball on time and sped his drop up and got the ball out quicker, DK would have walked into the end zone. So was it a great throw? Yes. But was it late? Absolutely, it was late. And those are little things that I don't know if he will learn. But if he played for Steve Spurrier, he would have got his ass chewed because that ball is not thrown on time. But, yeah, he's got a chance to be pretty good. He does some good things. But I think if you ask anybody on the team and that has played ball, and JC, you know, people have told you the same thing. Who would they start?
Yeah, they would start the experienced player, Mertz, and I changed my thinking on this because I thought, I saw a desperate situation in the second week of the season, and I thought maybe we have to look forward a little bit more. And I guess what that should have meant was forward meaning now and winning games. And of course it means winning games. And Mertz gives you that experience, and they're going to need this. I think Lagway is going to be tremendous, but he's on a learning curve. And you just explained part of that learning curve right there, what you just said. And when you walk into that damn Neyland Stadium, your bones shake. And Mertz is going to have that poise, I think, that we won't see. DJ would be very nervous, I'll tell you this, running out there against that defense in that environment at that time of day. And we've all been in that stadium, whether it's been a good day or a bad day at night, and it is a different world, and they are feeling good about their team, and this team needs, the Gators that is, needs an experienced quarterback to walk them through this. I don't really want to see a lot of rotational quarterbacks. I think you got to let Mertz get the feel of the game and just leave him alone and let him work his way through this game. Otherwise, I think you're going to have a long night. I really think they need to stay with Graham and let him get into the rhythm of the game and feel of the game, because I think this would be a little bit much for a young freshman.
Rod says, are we the team leaving early? No, normal travel. Joseph said we finally went 5 wides, no motions, and threw a wide receiver screen. Shaking my head. Well, we didn't go 5 wides. We went empty, but we didn't go 5 wides. We still had tight ends and running backs in those 5 eligible receivers. JC, we got baseball. Baseball's been outstanding. We got 4 games today, starting at 3:00. I do not understand why in this round of the baseball playoffs they're only playing the best 3 out of 5. Why they're not playing 4 out of 7 makes no sense to me. I can understand.
I think they just want to. Well, I think it's because of the added round, and they want to get done before November, QB. And I think the other reason is that, remember back in the day when we were growing up, you had a winner of one division and a winner of another division, and then the winner of that game was called the pennant winner, and then you'd go straight to the World Series. Now we've got 3 rounds before the World Series, it would seem. So I think that's right. So, I don't know. I understand kind of why they do 5, because the next round will be 4 out of 7, because that would be for the league championship. So I think that, so I think, listen, these games have delivered. They really have. Yesterday, the Mets pretty much took care of the Phillies, but, the game before that was tremendous. The Padres-Dodgers last night was tremendous. The game before that, basically, you've got really, really solid games to watch, and Detroit is going to be going bananas today for their Tigers, because they're finally coming home from a long road trip, much like what the Mets went through last night or yesterday afternoon. They had been on the road for 15 days and then finally get back to Citibank Field to play a home game, and the fans let them know how appreciative they were for giving them the opportunity to watch a playoff game in New York City, in Queens. So it's really exciting. The Padres fans are like college football fans. They really love beating LA, but they really love their team. They could be playing they could have been playing the Angels, and they still go bananas for their Padres, because it's the only professional sports franchise in that city because of the idiot Spanos moving the Chargers out. So I think that it's exciting to watch because the fans are into it, and it is intense. And I think we've got some good ones today. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see the Tigers and the Royals take a 2-1 lead in this American League.
Wouldn't that be something? Champion your recovery with Core Power, delicious high-quality protein to build muscles, and electrolytes like JC to help hydrate. Core Power, replenish, repair, and rebuild. We got JC here. We'll have Bob Kesling, voice of the Volunteers, second portion of today's pro. It's crazy. We're sitting here talking about the offensive line can't block, quarterbacks this, quarterbacks that. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, for the Gators to win the football game Saturday night, to have a chance, the damn defense better do something, because I know they played well against UCF, but I'm telling you right now, that is a horrible UCF team, and I will be shocked if UCF wins another game.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? They play in the Big 12. It's possible that they do.
But the teams they play, JC, are pretty damn good teams.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. I was that we've definitely overvalued Central Florida coming off that TCU win that they had by a point or two out there in Fort Worth, thinking about how great their offense was, and then we simply watched Colorado and Florida smack them around all damn day. So I'm with you there. I think Central Florida is very overhyped, overrated, and yeah, they're not going to have a winning record. So I think it gets real for the Florida Gators on Saturday. But this is what you want, right? I mean, we've been talking about this damn schedule so much that it kind of gives you a headache to keep talking about it. But this, to me, is the first real road test game type of thing. A&M was not easy. Miami was not easy. But Tennessee in Knoxville on Saturday night is going to let you know where you're at, I think.
Yeah, it's it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's one of my favorite.
Oh, yeah. That and LSU, those two places, that and LSU to me, and I've been to just about all of them like you have, but that and LSU are the two most intimidating, and Florida are the most intimidating home fields in this league. I truly say that. Yeah, I believe
Chris
that.
says he stopped in Pascagoula yesterday as he was fleeing the storm. Cute little town. There's not much. I only lived there for 2 years, so I'm actually from the Delta up in Cleveland, Mississippi. I lived there for 15 years and then Cleveland, Pascagoula for 2. Chris says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, pass rush definitely has to get to Nico. He gets rattled with real bad pressure. Yeah, we need to rush the passer. Haven't really seen it. I mean, we saw it against UCF. We saw it a couple times.
They had UCF, a statue. They had a statue back there at quarterback QB. This guy, Nico's going to run around. It's going to be a real test. But that dude from Central Florida shouldn't be playing quarterback. You were right. And, it was an easy target for the Gators, and good for the Gators. They went after him. That's what they should do. But Nico is a different animal. Yeah.
Yes, he is for sure. F45 training merges 3 leading-edge fitness training styles into one 45-minute functional training class. Visit f45training.com to learn more. All right. I don't know about this. Maybe you've read it on Twitter, JC. Zach says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He says Connor Stallions mentioned yesterday on a podcast that one team had been using the Bluetooth in the helmet before the new communication system started this season. Who is it? I'm not aware of that. Are you aware of that, JC?
No, I'm sorry. That story is that's not on my radar.
Well, he's saying somebody was using helmet to quarterback communication before it was legal this year. But obviously he didn't tell whoever on the podcast who that was.
Well, I mean, he's involved in a lot of this shenanigans. I mean, Michigan, Central Michigan, the list goes on with that guy. So, you can believe him or not, but his name always is mentioned with some sort of malfeasance. And so, I mean, I don't know what to believe from that guy or who tries to defend against him, but I don't know much about this story. I will tell you what I do know, though, QB, and I do know that we're going to have some what are those things called at the fair? The butter cakes. What are they called?
JC, you can get anything in America it'll be fried.
Funnel cake. Funnel cake. Well, fried food hurts me bad, QB, but funnel cakes, I might have one of those damn things with our friend Brady, who's going to be walking around with me, and I'm going to actually try to swallow and drink a Michelob Ultra, which I absolutely detest, but there's no calories. So I'm going to try to get through it at the fair. And, Oklahoma pulled off a huge win last year. It was Texas's only blemish before the semifinal playoff game. But I got a feeling this year we're going to see a different story only because of Oklahoma's ineptitude on offense. And I think Texas will pull away. But it's going to be a real event. The weather's going to be beautiful, and the Cotton Bowl is going to be hopping. So I'm going to go walk around for that before the Florida game. So that all works out real nicely, the Texas OU game, and then the Gators on after that. So I'm excited about my day on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm going to Jerry's World to drink a god-awful Miller Lite, and I'm going to have one of those because that's all he serves, that and Coors. And when I watch the Lions battle the Cowboys in front of about 85,000, 90,000 fans, because believe me, Detroit's going to be about 20,000 people. Because I can't just sit through these hurricanes. It's the hurricane state. It's not the Sunshine State anymore. This is the hurricane state. Welcome to the hurricane state. You know, we get one every 2 weeks now. So, I'm just going to get the hell out.
Well, let me ask you this. You were complaining about your Michelob Ultras and your Coors Lights and your Miller Lights. Who says you have to drink those?
That's a good point. And after my first one, I might not have another. You're right. I mean, I've watched Alabama play the last 2 weeks. I watched them play Vanderbilt last week. I watched them play Georgia. I've had a grand total of one Stella Artois the entire 2 games. I'm going through life changes right now, QB. Life changes. And so that's true. You're right. I might just have a lemonade at Big Tex. I might just go get a lemonade full of sugar, I'm sure. And, I'm now watching everything I drink and eat.
I don't know diet lemonades. They make diet lemonades. You can get them without sugar.
Okay. Well, I'll look for that then. So Big Tex will give me one of those. Big Tex gives you a scoring update every quarter at the fair, and he always says the wrong team first. So let's say Texas is winning 21-17. Big Tex will say, "Welcome, everybody. The score of the ball game is Oklahoma 17 and the University of Texas 21. Enjoy the fair." Every time, that's what he says. And he always starts with the wrong team first. But, we get through these things. And I love Big Tex. He's about 100 feet tall, and he's big and wonderful. I love it. I love it there.
Yeah, so okay, JC, here's your assignment while you're the correspondent there in Dallas at the Red River rivalry. We have to have a picture of JC in his are you going to be wearing what jersey? Are you going to be wearing like a Troy Aikman jersey, or what jersey are you going to be wearing to this event? In front, I need a picture of you in front of Big Tex with your funnel cake going in your mouth.
Yeah, well, I think I got to pick a team. I'm not one of those neutral guys that just walks around in a white T-shirt and black shorts. I got to pick a team when I'm in the game. I'm a person whose personality is a function of the environment. So I like to be in the environment regardless of what it is, and I try to mix into it. So I'm going to be wearing burnt orange. I hope none of my Alabama and Florida friends hear me say this, but I'm going to be in the environment, so I have to be part of it. I'm not going to wear another team's colors during that game because that's just, I'm 60 years old. What do I care anymore? But I'm going to wear burnt orange, and I'm going to have me a big, the Bevo is going to be on my head. And I might even wear a cowboy hat, QB. And I'm going to walk around. You never know. It depends. And then, my friend Brady, he's all about Texas, former Florida football player, loves Texas now because he lives there. So anyhow, that's how we're going to roll. And then I'm going to take it all off at 7:30 or actually 6:30 Central Time. And I'm going to put my Gator hat on and hope they beat the god-awful.
Well, you'll miss the first quarter because it starts at 6 your time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, the game, I might, but I'm gonna have it on the phone. Either way, I'm going to watch it. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Before we get you out of here, JC, real quick, Michael says on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum. Shane, remember when you said last week when the fans are whining, when you are winning, fans don't care what color shirt the coach wears. Well, Bama fans are now getting mad at DeBoer after the Vandy loss.
Yeah.
I knew they were going because he wore black, and then he doesn't wear a polo. He wears like a light
pullover,
dry fit hoodie. Yeah, hoodie or quarter zip. Like I said, nobody gives
it. It was red. It was crimson red. No, it was crimson red. He had crimson red on against Vandy.
But he wore black against Georgia.
Yes, he did. And that's part of their colors, obviously. So, Caleb's learning too. Everybody's got to be on a learning curve when they're new to something. And folks got to understand that. Jesus. We have no patience in this society anymore. And it just seems like if you don't adapt right now to exactly what we want you to be, then you're flawed. And that's just not how it works. Everybody forgets Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe in Tuscaloosa in 2007, and they went 7-6. So, I mean, let's just pump the brakes. These Alabama fans really pissed. And guys like Paul Feinbaum, I know he's been doing this for 30 years. I know he wrote for the Birmingham, whatever. But the reality is that they like to create a stereotype of a fan base. That's just kind of how they do it up there in Connecticut, because nobody up there knows anything about college football, basically, unless they're a former player that they get hired to do the job. But Paul Feinbaum doesn't do Alabama fans or the university any favors when he comes out and tries to talk about how irrational the fan base can be. Let me tell you something, everybody. All fan bases can be irrational. Every stinking one of them. Okay? You show me a rational fan base, and I'll show you an oceanside property in Oklahoma. It doesn't exist. So just, you know, I know they're trying to sell advertising on this channel. It sells itself. They don't need guys like Paul Feinbaum going out there and talking about how irrational Alabama fans are. Everybody can be irrational when you have a shocking loss. But the learning curve is something that requires patience. And I think that's what we have to have with DJ Lagway, and that's what the Alabama fan base has to have with this coach who has a spectacular win-loss record. So just relax, people. That's what I would say.
Relax. Just
I'm
relax.
Alabama.
All right.
Yeah, just relax.
Taking more text line. Matt from Mariana says, I'm curious to know yours and JC's opinion. Is this the most competitively even top to bottom SEC that y'all have ever seen? I don't know if it's from top to bottom. I think there's 6 teams probably that can win it. I would say Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and A&M.
Don't forget
Maybe
A&M.
I would still throw LSU in there right now. We'll see. They got the Magnolia Bowl, Ole Miss, LSU this weekend, so that'll be a good one.
Great game.
But
Great game.
I think there's about 6 to 7 teams that are up there. The rest of them are kind of all jumbled together. But
well,
it's
anybody who's objective QB realizes that this conference is so much more balanced than, say, the Big Ten or the Big 12. Because in the Big Ten, it's 3 or 4 teams, maybe. And in the Big 12, it's maybe 1 or 2. In the SEC, you just named 6 or 7. So that's all you need to know. And I do think the bottom feeders are picking it up. Kentucky is not your father's Kentucky anymore. Vanderbilt, obviously. And all of this comes from the fact of what happened in Nashville last weekend. That's where it's coming from. And now that we see Georgia not kind of looking like the Georgia that's won the 2 national championships out there, though, and I think you got people starting to feel like things are balancing them out. And I do think the transfer portal and NIL are a part of this, and it will catch up with all the conferences and all the teams. It just will. I think it's just natural. But, the Big Ten, you look at the Big Ten. Oh, great. The Big Ten, it's got 18 teams in it. And I think maybe 3 or 2 have a realistic chance. And 2 of them are playing this weekend in Eugene, Oregon. And the other one might be Penn State. But we all know that story. So you got 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten out of 18 that have a realistic chance of actually winning that league. Whereas over here, you're going to have 6 teams that could win this conference out of the 16 that we have. So that's the way I look at it.
Zach says on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum, Bama was unranked when they lost to Monroe. Different animal being number 1 and losing to Vanderbilt. Yeah, JC.
I get it. But he still had to deal with a fan base. That's what kind of my point was. I was talking about the rationality of fan bases. And there is no excuse ever to lose to a directional FCS school like Louisiana Monroe. And they did. They absolutely did. And at the time, LSU also was beaten by UAB in the past, whatever year that was. So those people were having, conniption fits. It just kind of is one of those things. I would fully expect Alabama to bounce back against South Carolina, who can't score. And I certainly think next week in Knoxville, depending on what Tennessee does with Florida this weekend, you're looking at a hell of a game, and a game that I'd be very nervous about as an Alabama fan in Knoxville, because they can't get off the field on 3rd down. It's obvious.
This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 1989, first NFL game coached by an African American. Do you know who that was, JC?
What year?
1989 was the first NFL game ever coached by an African American head coach. It was on Monday Night Football.
Tony Dungy.
No, Tony Dungy was not a head coach then. Art Shell. Art
Shell. Okay, good.
The Raiders beat the Jets 14-7 on Monday Night Football. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. All right, JC, real quick before we get you out of here, let me go to, since you're driving and you don't have your handy dandy notebook, there should be a game. Well, there's a game tonight, and there's a bunch of games. Well, there's not any good games. Actually, this is a good game for Thursday night college football. We'll pick this one, JC, for the Peachland Dental picks. I don't know what our records are, but James Madison, who got beat, somehow got beat by the way, you know who they lost to last week? James Madison?
Monroe. They lost to Monroe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the Warhawks. The Warhawks.
Yep. They used to be the Indians back in our day. Somehow being an Indian pissed people off, so they changed their name. James Madison is a 9.5-point favorite over Coastal Carolina, who both teams are 4-1.
Yeah. I think JMU will bounce back in this game. So I like JMU. I still think they'll score a lot of points, and that usually wins in these small college games as far as I'm concerned. So give me JMU. You know, I didn't even look at this game. Obviously, our minds have been on other things for good reason. And by the way, everybody, I mean, just, you know, we're all praying that this thing isn't as bad as what we think it will be, but we have to be ready for all of it that comes our way. And I'm just really scared to death of what's going to happen to Pinellas County. But at any rate, I'll go with the, Thursday night. Okay. So I'll just go with JMU. And then on Friday from Dallas, you and I will do our weekend picks.
Yeah. So you're going to take JMU. I'll take Coastal just to be different. And then we'll pick the NFL game tomorrow night. Seahawks are at home, getting 3.5 from the Niners.
I think the Niners are banged up pretty badly, and it will affect them. I think the Seahawks getting the points at home is the right play here. Geno Smith will come back. They lost the game the other day to just a team that was, was meant to win. And so let's go with the Seahawks to bounce back. The 49ers have so many injuries. It's just terrible what's happened to them. But that's part of the game, and it's too bad because when they're healthy, they can play. You know, you can consider them in Kansas City, I guess. Somehow Kansas City gets around these injuries, and I think it's because of number 15. But listen, Purdy's doing damn well, as well as you can expect for a guy making $900,000 in his last year of a rookie contract. So I think the Seahawks will cover this. They may not win, but they'll cover the 3.5. Give me Seattle.
Yeah, I like Seattle as well. All right, last thing before we get out of here, JC. A lot of people here are saying you should wear Gator gear to the game. I think you should have worn Alabama stuff, quite honestly, because I went to this game with my son when he was in 4th or 5th grade, and I wore Gator stuff, and I was the only person sitting in the Texas section. People were looking at me like I was crazy. I had a Gator golf shirt on.
No, I get it, and I know your son. He was very into the Texas thing and all that. It's easy to get into, man. It's very attractive. It's fun to be at. Very, very interesting area. But I don't know. I just want to be a part of that environment, and I'll root for the Florida Gators. There's no way I'm missing Florida, Tennessee. That's an annual rite of passage, and into the fall, you have to be there and watch that game. So there's so many memories for both programs in that game, mostly all good for Florida. So I'm hoping that continues, and we'll talk about it Saturday.
All right. Have a good trip. That's JC joining us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll be joined by Bob Kesling, voice of the Volunteers. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogra State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gator Bait Media, Aikido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Nest and Wild, Florida Victorious, Electronics World. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Over State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's the voice of the volunteers, Bob Kesling. Good morning, Bob. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Shane. How you doing?
Yeah, appreciate you taking the time to join us. You and I were talking before we came on. Obviously, state of Florida, our prayers are with everyone with this hurricane. But Knoxville got a little bit of bad weather from Helene. But as you said, some of the surrounding areas just got wiped out.
Yeah, Knoxville just got rain, and it wasn't that bad here. But I'm telling you, 50 miles east of us, Greenville and Irwin, Newport. Those towns were, the devastation is just, it's hard to imagine. Just the water was up to the rooftops, and one of the hospitals up near Irwin, they had to take the patients to the roof to get them evacuated by helicopter. I mean, you just don't expect that, especially in the mountains, that have this kind of disaster. But there are a lot of, in Asheville, of course, is still, it's going to be a long time before they recover. It's just the one thing it does give you hope is the fact that how people have jumped in to help, and all the volunteers that have jumped in to go up there. But when you don't have power, you don't have water, and you're trapped in your subdivision, I mean, it's pretty scary. It's hard to imagine this time, and in the times we live in, that you would be so handicapped and devastated. But it's going to be years before some of these places are rebuilt, and the interstate system. I mean, the I-40 between here and Asheville is totally shut down. So just think of all the truckers that now have to go around, and the extra hours it's going to add to their journeys. And it's just devastating.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Well, the Gators are going to be traveling up there for Saturday night game. Let's go back to the Arkansas game.
Do we have to?
I knew it was going to be a tough environment, but boy, because I knew Arkansas would score a little bit, because I just think Petrino is so good offensively.
Yeah.
What happened in that game? I didn't get to see it because our game was going on at the same time.
Sure. I think people here are still trying to figure out. I think the coaching staff's trying to figure out exactly what happened. Well, the first thing that happened is Arkansas got the ball. Tennessee deferred, and so Arkansas got the ball first. They held the ball for 9.5 minutes, just taking the ball down the field and getting chunks and picking up first downs. And that just threw the whole rhythm of Tennessee's offense off, because, Tennessee's used to getting the ball in 3 or 4 plays. You go down and score that first touchdown, take a 7-0 lead, and then you're playing ahead of the game the rest of the night. But that didn't happen. And then Tennessee got the ball and couldn't move it. And Arkansas, it could have been a little bit worse. They missed field goals, and Tennessee stopped them twice on 4th and shorts in that first half. So it was 3-0 at halftime, and first time that Coach Heisel has been shut out at Tennessee. Second half, Tennessee comes out, first possession, third quarter. They take it right down and score. Dylan Sampson's having a big game. They get another touchdown. They get a big passing play. So it's 14-3, and you don't think Arkansas can move the ball against Tennessee's defense. They lose their quarterback, but they figured out a way to move the ball. As you mentioned, Bobby Petrino figures out a way to do swing passes and get things going. So and it was interesting at the end, Tennessee's leading 14-13. Arkansas has got the ball deep in their own territory with their backup freshman quarterback in there. And you don't think, well, he can't take it down the field against this Tennessee team. Well, they hit a little swing pass for big yardage, and they run the ball. And with about a minute and a half, Tennessee had two timeouts remaining. Coach Heupel elected to just let them score. And so that made it 19-14. But you thought, well, Tennessee can still take the ball down the field and score it, which Tennessee got in position, got it down to the 25 or 20-yard line. But at the end of the game, Nico couldn't connect on a couple of throws. And then on the last play with 6 seconds, instead of throwing it into the end zone, he just ran out of bounds, and then the game was over. And the locker room was as quiet and as stunned as anyone I've seen in a long time after the game, because I don't think anybody saw that coming. I don't think anybody expected it.
Yeah, and I know Nico making that mistake at the end, not just throwing it up, has been killing him ever since. Because trust me, I know. I got a couple of questions here. I want to know, are the Vols' top 2 receivers out for our game?
Don't know yet. They're, how they are. They're so guarded about injuries. They're supposed to release it tonight. It looks like that Squirrel had some kind of shoulder injury, and Brew McCoy, whether it's a hand or an arm, we're not sure. So we'll see when they announce it tonight, whether they're, of course, but Shane, how it is now. Then they put it questionable, so you still don't know till they line up and go down. But if those 2 guys can't go, it hampers a Tennessee passing game that's been really not very effective the last 2 games. Oklahoma kind of figured out a way to confuse Nico, and Arkansas used that same deal. They're putting 3 at the line of scrimmage. Looks like they're dropping 8, and then suddenly they're blitzing from the outside, and they're covering. Looks like they're zone, and then they go man to man, and that has really plagued Nico so far. He is not really. That's confused him a little bit. Against Oklahoma, he figured it out and hit Dante Thornton on a long touchdown, which kind of helped turn that game around. But he's been confused. You can tell he's not exactly really confident where he's going with the ball right now, because of the fact these defenses have kind of figured out a way to confuse him and make it more difficult. And Tennessee's not been throwing the ball over the middle of the field. They have not very often. They put those 2 wide receivers all the way to the sideline, and they try and get you to move your secondary out so they can run the ball up the middle. But the teams have kind of figured out a way to stymie the Tennessee running game. When Tennessee runs for over 200 yards, they win. Well, the last 2 games they haven't, and they were able to get ahead of Oklahoma and then just kind of take their foot off. Coach Heupel said, take the foot off the gas and win the game. But against Dylan Sampson had over 100 yards against Arkansas, but as a team, Tennessee didn't go over 200 yards, and they lost. So that's kind of the stat you look at. If Heupel's team's running the ball well, they'll win. If they don't, they struggle.
Yeah, speaking of that, I think back since Josh has been there, they were so prolific when Hendon Hooker was running the offense, because he was a tremendous college quarterback, but his running ability really caused defenses to have to, they didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
Well, he got hurt, and I think Joe Milton came in. Joe played last year. Joe's not a great runner, even though he's a big dude. He can throw it 100 miles an hour, but not a great thrower.
Yeah.
Well, Nico now.
Well, not an accurate thrower.
Yes. Nico, I don't know what kind of runner he is, but do you think for Josh Heupel's offense to work like it did when Hendon Hooker was there on all levels, does he need a guy who's kind of a runner as well?
It helps. It really does help. And I think they expected last year Joe Milton to run more than he did, but he was kind of a reluctant runner. And so far, Nico has been that. But you watch the first week of college football and you see these quarterbacks getting all beat up trying to run, and your quarterback's lost for the season. I think Tennessee was really leery of that. Just let Nico go out and run. Now he can run, and he's done it a couple of times, but you're right, he has not done it effectively as Hendon Hooker did. I mean, Hooker was a magician. I mean, he got out there and got in trouble, and suddenly, and he's got 20 yards and a first down, and let's move the sticks, and then we're going to throw the ball over your head. And but Tennessee, so in the games they've struggled. Now, of course, in the early games against Chattanooga and against Kent State, they did pretty much whatever they wanted to, and you set up the run and then you throw it over their heads, and that's the way Josh Heupel wants to play. But these last two games, they have not allowed you to throw it over their head, and they've stopped the run. And so that'll be Florida's big task. Can they stop the run and make Nico come out and beat you with his arm? And we'll see if that's possible. But you're right, that extra dimension. I think any offense when they've got a running quarterback and a threat, that makes it really tough on a defense. And so far, Nico has been a little bit reluctant, and I think it's because the coaches. I don't think they want him running very much.
Yeah. Speaking of Tennessee, I think a lot of the expectations going in after the first couple of games was how good the Tennessee defense was, especially the front four. Have they still played up to that expectation? And what can the Gator fans, who should they look for on that defense?
Well, I think that the front seven on the Tennessee defense, yes, is still very, very good. Keenan Peely is the linebacker that transferred in from BYU last year, got hurt in the first game, didn't play, but he stepped up, and he's really – Shane, he's been in college since 2016. I mean,
oh, wow.
I mean, it's crazy with some of these guys, but, he goes to BYU, gets redshirted, then he goes on a Mormon mission for 2 years, comes back and plays a couple of years, gets his degree from BYU, transfers to Tennessee, gets hurt. Of course, COVID years thrown in there. He gets hurt last year in the first game, so he gets a medical, and now he's playing this year. So, he's a veteran guy, but he's really been playing well at linebacker and being able to come up and fill for the run and is playing. He's playing like a middle linebacker should. But the defensive line, they're got really three deep, and you'll see it during the game. It's kind of like a hockey rotation. They'll do four guys for 3 plays and bring 4 fresh guys in and trying to rotate them. James Pierce, number 27, is a guy that he'll be in the Gator backfield all night. He's a special player. He's getting chipped a lot. Because he's so effective, so they're double teaming him, bringing a tight end or a running back over there to keep him away. But he was still in the Arkansas backfield all night long. Josh Josephs is playing well up front. Amari Thomas. They've got a bunch of guys in the defensive line that decided to come back for this extra year. And that's really helped. I mentioned Amari Thomas. Norman Lott has been playing really well. Tyree West has kind of reshaped his body, and he's playing at a very high level. So the front seven, they're as good as advertised. And, they're holding teams – most of the times, if you go on the road and you hold a team to 19 points, if you got Tennessee's offense, you expect to win, and they go to Oklahoma and they hold Oklahoma to 14 points. Well, in the SEC, that'll win you a football game if you do that. So it hadn't been the Tennessee's defense. It's it's just been the consistency of the offense and the big plays.
Yeah. Bob, question for you, Bob, here on the Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Mark asked, what happened to the Vols up-tempo offense that we saw a few years ago? Was that more because of Hendon Hooker being able to run it?
Yeah, I think so. Pat Ryan, during the game, of course, Pat played in the NFL for 14 years, so he knows. But he has been urging during the games for Tennessee to get back to the line of scrimmage and go faster this year. They've not gone at that fast tempo that Tennessee is used to doing. I mean, when Hendon Hooker was there, as soon as the running back got tackled, he hands the ball to the umpire there, but right back at the line of scrimmage, ready to go. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't give the defense a chance to substitute, and doesn't give them a chance to make adjustments. But for some reason, and maybe it's because, we forget Nico has only started 6 games in his career.
Right.
So it's not like he's this veteran quarterback that has gone out there and seen everything. And it took Hendon Hooker a while. People forget that Hendon Hooker lost his job if Joe Milton hadn't gotten hurt that first year. Hendon Hooker might have never played at Tennessee, because they went in, if you remember, they recruited Joe Milton over the top of Hendon after Coach Heupel got there. Hooker had already come from Virginia Tech, so he was there. But after spring practice, they went out and got Joe Milton, because I guess they didn't think that Hooker could run the offense. And then Milton gets hurt, and then that's when Hooker gets to play and never gave the job back. So, but it takes a while to and Shane, this, it takes a while for a quarterback to get used to playing at this level. And I think everybody the expectations for Nico were so high that he was just going to come in and be this whiz kid as a freshman and just, bowl everybody over. But I think he's showing some growing pains right now. I think he's showing that he's still trying to figure out exactly what he's doing against these good defenses. And I think it's going to be really a big test for Nico this week to see how he bounces back after a not so good performance.
Well, I will tell you this, the tempo bothers the Florida Gator defense.
Yeah.
And especially as fast as Tennessee used to go. It was amazing. I remember the last time we were there, 2 years ago, that's when Hendon was the quarterback. And as a color analyst, when Tennessee had the ball, I just sat there because I didn't have time to say anything. They were going so damn fast.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it was break speed. I mean, they just went bam, 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 bam. And what it did is a lot of the times, one of the reasons they had big plays was because the defense got confused and they blew coverages, and guys were running down the field just wide open, or the defense would just get worn out because you couldn't substitute. But they have not gotten back to that style this year yet. And I think that a lot of that's because they don't want Nico to make a mistake and turn a game around. And he's not put the ball in harm's way very often. He's thrown 2 interceptions. One of those, his arm was hit against NC State, and the ball kind of fluttered. So he's made one bad throw, really, that caused an interception. The running backs don't fumble. None of them. Dylan Sampson hadn't fumbled in 3 years, I guess. And so the running backs they don't turn the ball over. And that'll be a key, I think, in the game Saturday, not to give Florida a chance for easy touchdowns.
The playing surface, obviously they had Morgan Wall in there, I think a couple of weeks ago when y'all played at Oklahoma. I want to say they resided the whole field, correct?
Yeah.
You think there's any concerns about slippage or any of that stuff?
No. The concert was Sunday night, and that night they put plywood over the field and all that, and put chairs on the field and all that stuff, and their fans on the field. But then they took that field out, and then Monday afternoon about 4:00, here come the semi-trailers in with that. And they use that thick sod that they use in a lot of NFL fields, and so they put the field down all night throughout the night Monday, and then we got all the rain with the hurricane. So there was plenty of water on the field, and you can't tell the difference. I mean, it just looks like you're playing on it for the first time to start the season. So there's no worry at all about the field or slippage or turf tearing up. So it's the same kind of turf that they use on NFL stadiums, that big, thick Bermuda turf. So it should be great. Should be fine.
Did you go to the concert and see Peyton walking out in full gear? That cracked me up.
Well, it's funny. Tony Vitello, the baseball coach, was there. So I asked Tony, I said, how were Peyton's wheels when he put that uniform on? He said, well, his wheels have got a little tread worn on him a little bit, but he looked pretty good. It really surprised a lot of folks. I wasn't at the concert. It was interesting. We had the equipment truck crashed on the way back from Oklahoma. Oh. It crashed in Little Rock. And so they spent all day Sunday trying to get, some tow trucks in there and get everything put back together. So they finally did. The equipment truck and the man bus got back to campus at 11:30 30 of the 38 kids on that bus had tickets to the Morgan Wallen concert. And so they sprinted from the football complex over to the stadium. They got to see the last 30 minutes of the concert.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
Wow.
quite an adventure. That'll be one they'll tell their grandkids about.
Yeah. So hopefully everyone was safe on
Yeah,
that,
everybody was safe.
incident.
Everybody was safe. Yeah, it was kind of scary, but everybody was safe.
Well, Bob, we appreciate you taking the time to join our program. Hopefully the weather's nice up there. One last question. Somebody's asking about the upgrades to Neyland Stadium. I know they did some stuff last year, but I read where, down by the river, they're putting up hotels and all that kind of stuff. Has that started yet?
No, none of that stuff has started. However, they have taken in the south end zone, like most old stadiums, they had dorms and offices and all those type things in the stadium. They've taken all those out in the south end zone, and they're putting in, expanding concourses and putting in premium seating, and they're building a kitchen and all kinds of stuff. So if you have tickets in the south end zone, which I don't think any of the Florida folks will, you won't see many changes. But every year they're revamping things, and Danny White, the athletic director, is just big into premium seating and the upscale experiences for the fans. So there are a lot of changes going on, but the entertainment district is going to be outside the south end zone, which is along the river, and they got to tear down some parking garages, and they've got to do a bunch of stuff, but that's probably 4 or 5 years away. They're still trying to get everything lined up, but Danny White they're trying to make it like Atlanta, the baseball stadium down there with, restaurants and a bunch of stuff around there in that south end zone. So, but we'll see how that finally comes about. But they're making changes and trying to improve Neyland Stadium, so which is great.
Yeah, well, I look forward to it. It's one of my favorite venues in all of football. It's a cool atmosphere. We'll see you in the press box, Bob. Appreciate your time,
Shane.
my friend.
I appreciate it. Travel safe.
Yep.
Stay out of the harm's way.
Yes, sir. That's Bob Kesling, the voice of the Volunteers. Join us on the Titan More Highline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. Florida Crackers, a brand for original Floridians. Great food, Southern hospitality in the center of the universe. Brooksville, Florida. FloridaCracker.com. Stay safe out there, folks. We'll be here tomorrow if we have power. If not, hunker down somewhere. Stay safe. See you tomorrow. Take care.